2019 was a fun year in films. Here's my top 15 films of that year, in alphabetical order. 1917, A Hidden Life, Bacurau, Hope, The Irishman, Knives Out, The Lighthouse, Marriage Story, Midsommar, Monos, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Queen of Hearts, and Uncut Gems. You wanna see my thoughts, how I rank them, who will win my personal best picture? Jump here to the end of the video. In the meantime, let's give an award to every category in the Oscars, changing it up to my preferred nominees and winners. I've got 6 nominees in the above the line categories. Let's start. Best Director, I would start by giving an honorary mention to the Russo brothers for Avengers Endgame. It did not make my top 15, but they deserve the praise for what they pulled off, completing such a massive universe with so many characters. As for now, the nominees for Best Director are Robert Eggers for The Lighthouse, Bong Joon-ho, Parasite, Martin Scorsese, The Irishman, Celine Sciamma for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Terrence Malick, A Hidden Life, and Sam Mendes for 1917. I'm a big fan of what Robert Eggers did with The Lighthouse, and also the tremendous job Sam Mendes did, but Bong Joon-ho is the winner here. So I agree with the Academy on this one. For Best Actor I have Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Adam Sandler for Uncut Gems, who really deserved the nomination. What a fantastic, fun character, one we've never seen Adam Sandler play. I also have a double nomination for Adam Driver, one for Marriage Story and also one for The Report. I also have Robert De Niro for The Irishman, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, also an honorary mention to Bartosz Bielania for Corpus Christi. Although I'm happy with Joaquin Phoenix winning the award for Joker at the Oscars, it was a great and complicated character, but I think the best performance of the year was Adam Driver for Marriage Story. Best Actress, I've got Trine Dyrholm, the Danish goddess in acting, for the movie Queen of Hearts. I also have Noémie Merlant for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, Florence Pugh for Midsommar. This was the movie that really got me invested into her acting. That was a very interesting character. I also have another horror movie in the mix, Lupita Nyong'o for Us. Horror movies usually do very bad in the acting categories at the Oscars, and she was terrifying in that role. And the 6th nominee is Saoirse Ronan for Little Women. I would also give an honorable mention to Julie Garner for The Assistant, which is a breakout performance about a woman working in a toxic environment. And on the other side of the coin for Marriage Story is Scarlett Johansson's amazing performance. Those two just broke my heart in that movie. So Scarlett Johansson, I think that was the best performance of the year. For Best Supporting Actor, we've got Al Pacino for The Irishman. I didn't find a place for Joe Pesci, I'm sorry. I had to choose someone else, so I also have Song Kang-ho for Parasite. I have Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Sterling K. Brown for Waves. I also have Zach Gottsagen for Peanut Butter Falcon. That's a very warm movie with Shia LaBeouf, but he is the standout performance in that movie. And also, of course, Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. I'm sneaking in an honorable mention to Joe Pesci nonetheless. And even though all of these performances are great, it has to be Willem Dafoe, which is a career best in my opinion. Best Supporting Actress, I've got Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers. I was quite surprised that she did not even make the cut at the Oscars. I also have Margot Robbie for Bombshell, Adele Haenel, sorry for the mispronunciation, for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Lee Jung-yoon for Parasite, Taylor Russell for Waves, and Florence Pugh for Little Women. I'm also gonna give a strong honorable mention to Zhao Shuzhen for The Farewell. I really want to give it to Florence Pugh for Little Women. I think she was fantastic in that role, but I think I'm going to lean towards Portrait of a Lady on Fire. The chemistry she has with Nomi is remarkable. Best Original Screenplay, I've got Parasite, Uncut Gems, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Knives Out, A Marriage Story, and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Honorable mention, Hope. I think the sharp satire in Parasite is the winner here, so for me that's the film that wins the award. Best Adapted Screenplay, I've got A Hidden Life, Dark Waters, I Lost My Body, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, and Little Women. Honorable mention, The Two Popes. And for me, the best screenplay here must be The Irishman. It's kind of like a response to Goodfellas and Casino. It's a long movie, you don't feel the length of it, but you're just so engaged in that enormous scope and the story that is told. Best animated feature, I've got I Lost My Body, Klaus, Marona's Fantastic Tale. This one is very cute. It's creatively told story about the life of a dog and its owners with a variety of art styles. I also have Ongaku, Our Sound. I mean, the film is very simple. It's just a group of people starting a band and it goes through many situations. But any music lover would cherish this one. I'm a big fan of 60s and 70s progressive rock, and never would I imagine seeing the album cover Tarkus by Emerson, Lake and Palmer shooting the Hindenburg from Led Zeppelin 1 while the cow from Pink Floyd's Atom Heart Mother is watching before being pooped out of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells. So much fun. And I also have Weathering With You. I'm not a fan of Toy Story 4, so it misses the cut for me. But the winner is I Lost My Body. It's a beautiful odyssey. There's like two stories here, one about a severed hand as it travels throughout Paris and our protagonist Naufel, who falls in love with Gabrielle. It's so much better than any of these movies that were nominated at the Oscars. So I think I'm very satisfied with this lineup of 5 movies, with this one being the best one out of those. Best international feature, I've got Portrait of a Lady on Fire from France, Parasite from South Korea, Queen of Hearts from Denmark, Bacurau from Brazil, and Monos from Colombia. I'm gonna talk about all of these later, but my winner is Parasite. Best documentary feature, I've got the Aleppo documentary For Sama, Honeyland, Apollo 11, which won the Critics' Choice and got nominated at the BAFTA, but was famously snubbed by the Academy. I've got Diego Maradona, the documentary about the football player, and I also have Varda by Agnes, which basically is a reflective journey by a famous filmmaker. I would also give an honorable mention to Hail Satan. The winner here is Honeyland. I think it's a wonderful insight into a North Macedonian village and a lonely beekeeper. It's very quiet and intimate, but stunningly beautiful. You have so many contrasts and colors here, her side being like filled with balance and appreciation of nature and the love for it, and the neighbors being the opposite. They display a lot of greed and desperation, and you can also like pinpoint it to various corporations and industries. So the film also works on a global scale in terms of natural resources and the exploitation of them. It was also nominated at the Oscars, but I think it's the winning film here. Best original score, my favorite animated feature has also an amazing score. I Lost My Body deserves a nomination. Hildur Gudnadsdottir's score for Joker is very haunting, so I also have it here. And Mark Corvin's score for Lighthouse. I also have Pain and Glory and Uncut Gems. I also like the Mikael Levi's score for Monos. I'm also a fan of the Midsommar score. They sadly missed the cut, but the winner here is the electronic, bombastic score of Uncut Gems. It has so much energy and it's driving the entire story with the amazing editing. For Best Original Song, I don't have any big preferences, but I always love to mix around with this category. So I have 2 nominations for Weathering With You. For the song Is There Still Anything That Love Can Do and Grand Escape. I also have Le Jeune Fil en Feu from Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I have I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocketman, and I also have A Glass of Soju from Parasite. I was not a big fan of the Frozen 2 song, so it's not in the mix, and I would actually give this one to Elton John, just like the Oscars, because I think this song is pretty killer. In the category Best Sound, I have Beats. It's a Scottish movie with a lot of partying and rave, and also quite a wonderful sound mix. I also have Ad Astra and Ford vs Ferrari, Bacurau and 1917. Honorable mention, The Lighthouse, and even though I think the Ford vs Ferrari sound mix is pretty great, the lunar chase scene and all of the stuff in space in Ad Astra kind of takes a spot for me. I have some problems with the film, but I think it's a little bit underappreciated and forgotten, especially the technical aspects are pretty remarkable.
Alpha, we need backup ASAP! We're being ambushed!
LRV-2 down.
Rory!
I have a puncture.
Best production design? Let's start with an honorable mention. The Platform, which is a cool movie using production design in a simple way with several floors and the platform going down with food. It's effective and it communicates the very non-subtle themes. But as far as the nominees, we've got About Endlessness. Roy Andersson's movies have such a distinct production design. It's very simple and grim and depressing. He has a very keen eye on where to put the props and the actors. Just look at this, it's pretty interesting. I also have Parasite, wonderful production design with the house and all. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Knives Out also uses the production design pretty well, and Midsommar, which is the winner here. There's a lot of attention to detail in Midsommar's production design. The use of yellow and blue, coincidentally also the colors of the Swedish flag, are used in great ways to convey meanings of death and danger. There's a lot of symbolism in color in the various buildings and artworks within it. Using runes is a clever touch, and Henrik Svensson, the production designer, managed to create something unique here, so job well done. Best cinematography, we've got A Hidden Life, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, 1917, Monos and The Lighthouse. An honorable mention goes to The Painted Bird from the Czech Republic, with its wonderful black and white photography. I also decided to leave out Parasite here, which is a bit odd, but I'm a big fan of the photography in all of these 5 and wanted to highlight those, especially since Parasite has gotten a lot of nominations. The winner is The Lighthouse. Yarin Blaschke's photography for The Lighthouse is so hauntingly beautiful. The specialized lenses that were used to make the movie like it was shot in the 1930s with that aspect ratio contributes to a very unique atmosphere. It's very monochromatic and haunting, like a German expressionist film. I love it. For best makeup and hairstyling, I have Ready or Not, Bombshell, Judy, Joker and Midsommar. Honorable mention, Dr. Sleep. And this is one where I agree with the Academy. Makeup goes to Bombshell, a movie about the Me Too movement, detailing the Fox CEO Roger Ailes, a man who sexually abused several of the female hostesses on Fox. They do a great job with the makeup on him, played by John Lithgow, but there's a lot of subtleties in the makeup to make the women very similar to those real-life individuals. Best costume design, I have A Hidden Life, Little Women, Midsommar, Dolomite Is My Name. Really surprised this one missed at the Oscars despite having a bunch of precursor awards, and there's some terrific costumes, The Painted Bird, and an honorable mention to Jojo Rabbit. I don't have a strong preference here. I'm a big fan of Midsommar's costumes, but Little Women is great here, so I agree with the Academy's decision in the winner, but not necessarily in the line of nominees. Best editing, Uncut Gems, Parasite. 1917 for its hidden editing. I mean, the film is shot as a one take, but it has a lot of hidden cuts. I also have The Lighthouse and The Ford vs Ferrari. Honorable mention, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the best editing here goes to Uncut Gems. It's an anxiety-driven and electric film. It has some amazing and disgusting editing, like the beginning of the film starting in someone's ass. It's such a wild ride. Best visual effects, Avengers Endgame, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, The Lion King, 1917, and Alita Battle Angel, with an honorable mention to Gemini Man, which is not a good movie, but it has some great visual effects. I admire the tremendous amount of work that is done in Avengers Endgame, so I think that one should win. Best casting, this is one of the new categories which will be implemented into the next year's Oscars, but I've had this category in my own lineups, and here I have Parasite, Knives Out, Little Women, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Jojo Rabbit, with a shout out to the Ken Loach film Sorry We Missed You. I'm very tempted to give this one to Parasite, but I think I'll give it to Knives Out for the very fun casting here. Let's say that Parasite is the runner-up. And the final category is Best Choreography, Stunts or Dance, which is not a category at the Oscars yet, but here we have 1917, John Wick 3 Parabellum, Jumanji The Next Level, Avengers Endgame, and once again I have Gemini Man, which has some good stunt sequences. Honorable mention, Ford vs Ferrari. But the most admirable here is what they accomplished in 1917, both in terms of the camera movement and all the things that had to be in place for it to make a one-take movie. So the choreography here is spectacular. And now let's begin with Best Picture. Number 15, Hope. I'm a bit biased being Norwegian, but this one did make the Oscars shortlist and I also want to recommend it. This Norwegian drama has Andrea Brein Hovig and Stellan Skarsgård in the main leads. Their relationship has grown apart and suddenly she has gotten a terrible medical diagnosis. So it shows us how this impacts the strained and tender relationship she has with Stellan, but also how it impacts their kids. It's a drama movie which is both intimate and raw, and I was just sucked into the amazing acting here. Even though I haven't given this movie any awards in this video, I still want to recommend it. Number 14, 1917. A movie that is meant for the big screen. I saw it in IMAX and it was spectacular. Sam Mendes has made like an amazing World War I epic, which is technically astonishing, but it's also emotionally gripping with it being a one continuous shot. The cinema experience heightened the feeling of escapism inside the trenches. If you haven't seen it, it's a recommendation, but you have to see it on the biggest screen you have with the best sound system. Number 13, Uncut Gems. The Safdie brothers have made an adrenaline-fueled thriller, which could have been a story in Grand Theft Auto. It follows a reckless jeweler whose life spirals out of control. Adam Sandler, he gives a career best performance, one we have never seen him do in the 90s or 2000s comedies. And the film is filled with assholes and it's so relentless. It's an incredible anxiety-inducing ride with a lot of chaos and desperation with a kinetic camera. Number 12, Midsommar. The film perfectly encapsulates Scandinavian summers with a terrific cinematography, one that I felt like being at home, and it's great to have actual Swedes in the film as well. I enjoyed the various phases of the film and how it ties to the character's mental breakdown through Scandinavian folklore and repetition in the film's symbols. It's a unique folk horror since it's not taking place at night and has the gruesome things being in a very sunlit festival. There's a lot of grief and cultish violence. Florence Pugh is showcasing a very good performance, and it's almost like it fits into this brand of cultish 1970s horror movies in terms of set dressing and pagan themes. Number 11, Monos. This Colombian war drama, often likened to Lord of the Flies and even Apocalypse Now, which starts very safe with some children who are then approached by a drill sergeant and then tasked to guard a hostage, an American engineer in the mountains. It's shot in some very remote places in Colombia. You can almost feel the wet jungle. It's visually stunning and hauntingly atmospheric, and it also has a cow named Shakira, which is fun. Number 10, Knives Out. Rian Johnson, he spins the whodunit mystery genre into his own thing, where he is one step ahead of the viewer at all times. It's a very original and fascinating structure in the whole thing, and the fresh detective in Daniel Craig was less Sherlock Holmes but more Michael Scott's Murder in Savannah character, which I loved, and the themes of class and immigration was also cleverly portrayed. He blends sharp humor and political commentary, and it's also just so easy to enjoy this film. I love the stellar ensemble cast here. It's very entertaining. Most of you have probably seen it already, but it's very entertaining nonetheless. Number 9, The Irishman. What a grand reflection on loyalty and betrayal. It's incredibly bleak and grim, more so than his other films, but it's Scorsese's removal of the hip and coolness about the mob life that is so interesting to witness. You can contrast it to, for instance, Goodfellas and the renegade youth. We get a movie about death, There's something about this film that feels like a series finale for a show that never existed, with characters you grew up with, and the somber performances really elevated that. Martin Scorsese has given us a very depressing and masterful and a touching film. Seeing those aging hitmen facing regret and irrelevance was incredibly done. Number 8, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino's funniest movie, and he sure manages to create some fantastic characters, even highlighting people who later became huge, such as Mikey Madison's character. The whole thing is a nostalgic reimagining of 1969's Los Angeles, and a love letter to fading Hollywood myths. The chemistry between DiCaprio and Pitt is so fire. It's a hangout film and an explosive fairy tale. Number 7, Bacurau. The best thing here is just to go blind. It's a Brazilian genre-bending film that begins as a small-town drama and morphs into an enormous political revenge thriller. At first I had a skewed look at the flat and cheap lighting and pretty weird camera choices, but then I realized its purpose, and for every sequence the film took me in directions I did not imagine. It highlights so many different themes regarding political corruption and also US gun culture, but it does so in a very bombastic and wild fashion. It's very unpredictable and worth seeing. Number 6, Queen of Hearts. Now this is a Danish drama which examines abuse of power and taboo desires through the story of a lawyer who begins an affair with her teenage stepson. It's very riveting, with a performance by Trine Dyrholm which is extremely well done. It highlights a new aspect of the sexual affairs and assaults and what it is to be the poor or the rich one in those situations. There's a lot of intense interactions, some in very long shots. The film got a lot of attention here in Scandinavia, but not so much outside, so I definitely recommend it. It's very provocative and uncomfortable. Number 5, Marriage Story. I always fall in love with these kinds of dramas. I did so when I saw Paris, Texas and Kramer vs. Kramer when I was 15, and they really get to my heart, and you end up asking yourself the question about these relationship dramas, about was it really worth going through it all? And this is how the film brilliantly focuses on the journey of a divorce, rather than what each part gets in the end. Noah Baumbach gives us a very bittersweet film here. There's a lot of humor here, but it's also a lot of heartbreak. It does a lot with the raw performances and the dialogue between them. The discussions about which side, the wife or the husband, you are rooting for is very interesting, especially when the performances are among the best of the year. Number 4, The Lighthouse. As soon as you hear that blaring foghorn, you are hypnotized. Robert Eggers evoked some sort of zombie Ingmar Bergman to craft a surreal and nightmarish masterpiece. It's a simple story, 2 lighthouse keepers spiraling into madness. But it's so mysterious, that whole place they're at. You start to draw comparisons with Greek myths and folklore, which is what enriches this incredibly looking film. Stark black and white visuals and bizarre chemistry between Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson make it hypnotic and unsettling. It's a visceral experience, the whole thing. Number 3, A Hidden Life. Some films have a camera that acts like a fly on the wall, but for Terrence Malick it's like a spirit floating on the ground, and in his previous films it can get a little bit too much, but I didn't mind it here. In this film he manages to tell a heartbreaking story about defiance. About an Austrian farmer that refuses to swear an oath to Hitler and lives a rural life with his soulmate and 2 daughters. It's very slow and poetic. It's a long film, but I love it. It looks and is a gorgeous story. Number 2, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I mentioned Ingmar Bergman earlier and I have to mention him again. Not only were his movies incredibly photographed, but he told amazing stories through his female characters. Celine Sciamma does the same thing here. A lot of acting between the 2 female leads here, through their gazes and touches. A fantastic romantic period drama that is visually lush, a lot of dynamic range here, and it's also deeply moving. It's a story of forbidden love between an artist and her subject, And the location worked like a brown canvas with these two characters sparkling with color across the entire story place. The color symbolism of fire and water being present in characters, food, and dialogue is very beautiful. The quiet nature made the love story more honest, and like a painter successfully brings in every single emotion in the canvas. There's a lot of quiet intensity here, which builds up to an unforgettable emotional crescendo. And number 1 is the obvious one, Parasite. The Academy did it right. Bong Joon-ho created a masterpiece that luckily wooed the entire film industry. It won the Palme d'Or and also it won Best Picture, and I'm so happy he did it. It is a razor-sharp movie where everything works, sequence after sequence. How the family manages to get jobs at this rich futuristic mansion, and then how the story takes on a 180. It's an incredible movie about class divisions. It's simply perfect. I love the genre mixture, the dialogue and cinematography, but most of all the uniqueness of the story and how entertaining it was told. It's very dominated by his style and a 10-year return to the Korean cinema. I mean, he has done some English language film, but the Korean movies are always his best. There's a lot of clues throughout the film, so it works splendidly for rewatches. It's an astounding achievement in story editing and production design. It's a landmark of contemporary cinema. What are your favorite films of 2019? Please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and see you later.